As the United States and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, make the momentous decision to declare war against Russia, the Western military alliance begins to mobilize its military assets. However, a growing concern looms over their heads. As the alliance prepares for the inevitable confrontation, the reality of potential gaps in defensive coverage across multiple Western territories becomes increasingly apparent. The decision to engage Russia in battle has left them grappling with the need to secure their own borders while simultaneously maintaining a strong offensive front. Military strategists scramble to address these concerns, devising plans to strengthen defenses and protect critical infrastructure. A delicate balance must be struck, as the alliance cannot afford to leave its territories exposed to potential Russian counterattacks. The challenge is immense, as the United States and NATO must navigate the complex geopolitical landscape while also contending with the possibility of stretched resources and manpower. In a race against time, they must adapt and bolster their defenses to ensure the safety and security of their territories. As the conflict unfolds, the world watches anxiously, fully aware of the high stakes and potential consequences that come with this new declaration of war. As the situation continues to escalate, the United States and NATO must confront the harsh reality of war and the potential vulnerabilities it has exposed within their territories. The outcome of this global conflict will undoubtedly shape the future for generations to come. Want to see more? You can now binge-watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. With tensions running high, the Russian military decides to take a bold step. They deliberately begin attacking United States and North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, military assets in the Eastern European region, further escalating the already volatile situation. In response to the Western Alliance's declaration of war, Russia targets military bases, installations, and equipment belonging to the United States and NATO. Their goal is to weaken the alliance's ability to counter their aggressive expansion and maintain control over Eastern Europe. The attacks are swift and brutal, catching the Western Alliance off guard. As the Russian forces push forward, they manage to inflict significant damage on key military assets, creating chaos and uncertainty among the ranks of the United States and NATO. The global community watches in shock and disbelief as the conflict spirals further out of control. The deliberate attacks on US and NATO military assets by Russia only serve to exacerbate the already strained relations between the two sides, pushing the world closer to the brink of an all-out war. As the United States and NATO scramble to assess the damage and formulate a response, they are confronted with the harsh reality of war. The stakes have never been higher, and the need for decisive action becomes increasingly urgent. With the Russian military now deliberately attacking their forces, the United States and NATO must quickly adapt and respond to this new and dangerous threat. The future of global stability and peace hangs in the balance as the two sides clash in a high-stakes game of power and strategy. As the world holds its breath, the United States, NATO, and Russia continue to engage in an ever-escalating conflict. With each passing moment, the potential for catastrophic consequences increases, leaving the fate of millions uncertain. Just when it seems the situation couldn't possibly escalate any further, Russia shocks the world by launching a full-scale missile attack and military campaign against neighboring North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, member states and countries. The international community is left reeling as Russia moves beyond its previous attacks on US and NATO assets in Eastern Europe. With each strike, the risk of a devastating full-scale conflict grows, and the world watches in horror as the crisis unfolds. As NATO member states and their neighbors come under attack, they scramble to respond to the onslaught. With every passing moment, the need for a coordinated and decisive response becomes more and more critical. Throughout the region, cities and towns brace themselves for the impending devastation. The attacks are relentless, and civilians are forced to confront the terrifying reality of life during wartime. In the face of this new and aggressive Russian campaign, NATO is pushed to its limits. Each member state grapples with the challenge of defending its own territory while also attempting to support and protect its allies. As the conflict rages on, the world holds its breath. The full-scale Russian assault on NATO member states and their neighbors has left the international community reeling, and the potential for a catastrophic global conflict looms large. In response to the Russian aggression, NATO forces mobilize and launch counterattacks. Despite the chaos and confusion, they remain determined to protect their territories and stand up to the Russian threat. As the conflict continues to escalate, leaders from around the world scramble to find a way to de-escalate the situation and prevent further destruction. Diplomatic efforts are underway, but with tensions running high, the path to a peaceful resolution remains uncertain. The future of millions hangs in the balance as the Russian military campaign against NATO member states and their neighbors continues. With the world on the brink of a full-scale war, the stakes have never been higher, and the outcome remains uncertain. As the world watches in shock and disbelief, it becomes clear that the outcome of this conflict will shape the course of history. The decisions made by both sides in the days and weeks ahead will have lasting implications, not only for those directly involved, but for the entire global community. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay informed about the latest World War III worst-case scenario episodes. Thank you for watching. To stay up to date with our latest releases, all you've got to do is follow us across our various social media platforms. We're talking Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, we're there. Thank you for watching our channel. There's a whole lot more where that came from. Interested in binge-watching all episodes today? Head over to our website to access our entire media library using the URL link in the description. Ready to test your World War II knowledge? What English codebreaker created a machine that helped to decrypt Nazi messages? Provide your answer or response in the YouTube comment box below. Stay tuned for the right answer. The answer is Alan Turing. As the conflict between Russia and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, member states continues to escalate, the United States and NATO make a shocking and grave accusation. They formally declare that Russia has openly committed war crimes by indiscriminately attacking civilian cities within neighboring NATO member states and countries. This declaration comes as the international community reels from the devastation wrought by Russia's full-scale military campaign. The attacks on civilian cities are causing immense suffering and loss, and the world is outraged by the blatant disregard for human life. The United Nations convenes an emergency meeting to address the situation and discuss the potential ramifications of these war crimes. World leaders gather to condemn Russia's actions and explore possible avenues for holding the country accountable. As tensions rise, the United States and NATO begin to gather evidence of the war crimes, documenting the destruction and devastation caused by Russia's attacks. They work tirelessly to build a case that will stand up to international scrutiny. With the world watching, the United States and NATO present their case, detailing the horrors that have befallen innocent civilians in neighboring NATO member states and countries. They call for the international community to stand together in condemning Russia's actions and demand justice for the victims. Despite the mounting evidence, Russia denies any wrongdoing, claiming that their military actions are justified and in line with their national interests. This defiance only serves to fuel the outrage felt by the United States, NATO, and the international community at large. In response to Russia's actions, NATO member states increase their military presence in the region, aiming to protect civilians and deter further aggression. The stakes are higher than ever, as the world faces the prospect of an even more destructive conflict. As the world grapples with the reality of Russia's war crimes, the international community is left to ponder the future of global stability. The conflict has revealed the fragility of peace, and the need for cooperation and diplomacy has never been more apparent. As the conflict rages on, the United States and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, are left with no choice but to begin large-scale evacuations of cities that have been attacked by Russian artillery and missiles. With millions feared dead and the infrastructural damage seemingly beyond repair, the situation has become desperate. Emergency services from the United States, NATO, and other allied countries work together, racing against the clock to save as many lives as possible. The scale of the disaster is overwhelming, and resources are stretched thin. Meanwhile, convoys of buses, military vehicles, and private cars are organized to evacuate the survivors. With every passing hour, the number of displaced civilians grows, and temporary shelters are quickly overwhelmed. As the evacuations continue, the international community is shocked by the scale of the humanitarian crisis. Aid organizations and volunteers from around the world step up to offer assistance, providing food, water, medical care, and shelter for the displaced. The harrowing stories of survival emerge from the cities, with civilians recounting tales of loss, bravery, and resilience. The world is moved by their strength and determination in the face of unimaginable adversity. Governments across the globe pledge their support for the affected countries and promise to hold those responsible for the attacks accountable. As the death toll rises, the question on everyone's mind is whether a peaceful resolution to the conflict is still possible. As the conflict continues to escalate, United States and North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO military satellites, detect another missile launch from Russia. To the world's horror, this missile is far from conventional. It has a nuclear warhead attached to its peak. This new development takes the conflict to a whole new level, with the potential for catastrophic consequences. Western military command fears the probable outcomes of this drastic escalation, and the world braces itself for the unimaginable. Around the globe, people watch the news unfold with a mix of terror and disbelief, as the possibility of nuclear war looms closer than it has in decades. The stakes have never been higher, and the world's fate now hangs in the balance. As the missile hurtles through the sky, leaders from the United States, NATO, and other nations scramble to find a way to avert disaster, exploring diplomatic channels and military options in a race against time. Want to see more? You can now binge-watch all episodes of our series on our website. Get started today and explore the potential of the next world war. Arm yourself with the power of advanced AI for video creation, high-quality copy generation, a diverse range of freelance services, top-notch hosting options, and the ultimate online privacy protection. Don't miss out on exclusive discounts and promotions. Sign up today by clicking on the links in the description. Your journey towards creating compelling content starts now.